Welcome everybody with a full review of the Huawei S10 P9. I like to still call it S10 since I'm just used it, but Huawei just named a brand new P9, the successor of the P8, P7 and P6, which was the first one here of the premium lineup by Huawei. Just a beautiful design device with also Leica, you can see it on the box in the background, as a partner when it comes to the camera. That's also what makes this device a little bit more special than the usual Huawei products, that we have a dual camera system on the back, which is a little bit different to dual camera systems you have seen by HTC or LG or any other company that has done it before, since in this case the second camera is just monochrome. More about that later. First, let's check out the design again, which as you can see, I have it in here silver here and white on the front. It's also available in this black grayish device or color you can see here, and this is actually a P9 Lite, so there's also again a light version available, which came out a little bit later, and which has also kind of a metal design, but I want to actually show you just the color here. That is golden color is also available for these guys, but not in all devices, since there's kind of, even though they're all called Huawei P9, different sizes. For example, there's the P9 Plus with also the Force Touch built in, but here in this case with P9 you have also single SIM and a dual SIM version. I have the single SIM version here, which has, for example, NFC built in, so you can use it in certain countries, I guess, for wireless payment, but usually it's more for just exchanging data. For the dual SIM version, it doesn't have NFC built in, but the option to have 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of internal memory, where you have only in the single SIM version a micro SD card slot available, and just 3 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of memory. You can actually read that on the side of the box when you will buy it, that you have here just titanium gray, 3 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of ROM. You can see it right here, and it's called the L09 here for the single SIM version, and L29 is the dual SIM version. So don't be fooled, since it looks kind of like the same when it comes to the outside and obviously what's inside here, but in this one you cannot add a SIM card, just a micro SD on the second slot. So then on the top a microphone, on the next side we have the volume rocker and the nice on and off switch with a few with a nice touch to it. Just that's what I would say, you will feel right away which button is which. And then on the bottom here the new USB Type-C port, which is Type 1, so it's not for faster USB speed, it's just for you can plug in the phone any way you want. And then we have the headset jack and the volume rocker a sound output here, which is obviously quite nice. So again, back to the back where we have a really good fingerprint reader that unlocks the device right away. I just have to do this, and then we are inside the device. If I do it obviously on the front part of my finger, and then we are already inside, so that's not magic. But what's more important is these cameras, which are really not only looking quite crazy or great, but we have a nice technology with 12 megapixel behind both. One is monochrome and one shoots also color pictures with a really fast laser sensor in the bottom, and we have 2 LED flashlights for worst or bad lighting, and if you definitely want to use a flashlight. Also in the front, then also really good camera, an 8 megapixel selfie camera. So again, it's something that you should keep in mind, that this is a really good also selfie camera, not only just low light monochrome black and white camera for the back. And you can open up the camera really quickly, just easily by double pressing here the volume rocker, and then it shoots a picture right away in up to 1 second in speed, or sometimes even less than 1 second. One thing that's a little bit sad though is that it's usually configured to have the back in the focus, so you can see here on the back this little thingy. If I double press it again and hold it this way, it was even faster to shoot the picture. But again, the Huawei P9 box is not sharp, and the text is also not sharp. The text here in the background is a little bit sharper, so the focus is always more in the background with the quick start for the camera. If you go to the lock screen, you will see that we can start the camera here also right away. Otherwise we just have the time here, and here in the lock screen you cannot get the notification, so that's kind of a nice security feature. But usually I think most people won't even see the lock screen, since they just put their finger here and then they're in the system. For using the fingerprint reader, there's quite nice little gestures, which I find a little bit sad. One is missing, that you can't go left and right on the home screen, which would be quite nice to just do this with your finger, go over it. What you can do is just drag the top part and go down. What you will get then is your notification bar. You can also get it easily away by just doing the same thing, up, and then it goes away. So down and up, down and up, down and up, and it's magic. My left hand is not doing anything. It's quite nice. For a 5.2-inch Full HD phone, it's nice to just have to do this, and then you can just reach for it up from the top again without having to trying to reach here the top. Holding it strangely, holding it fragile, since somebody can just come and kick it out of your hand, or bump into you and then falls out of your hand. So it's quite nice that you have these little gestures here in the back, of which this one is the only one notification, and then there's just one second one that you can set up, and that one is, you have, for example, pictures, and then you can just go left and right and scroll through these pictures, which are quite nice, from the Empire State Building in not here in New York, but they were in New York where I was on vacation over the company. And we will show you in a little bit a second, a comparison of that picture that you have just seen here with something that the Samsung Galaxy S7 shot, and the S7 was actually not as good as the Huawei P9 Lite. So if actually all the pictures, not the only Empire State Building was looking good, but we have shot also some regular pictures in the daylight. Here, for example, a tulip in my garden, and if you go really close, you can see all kinds of nice, awesome little details, for example. But otherwise, video-wise, I have two samples on my German channel called Tech Video. Check these out for the back and the front camera, since both only shoot Full HD. That's one thing that is a little bit of a drawback for me, but otherwise the picture quality is beautiful. And also with 12 megapixel, you can even zoom in here a little bit, and then obviously read that it says here in the New York Street high-tech electronics at that store, which is really just a tiny detail here on the bottom part of the picture. So that's quite nice to have 12 megapixels, but it's even greater that you can actually set up a lot of things here in the camera itself. Like not only these crazy filters that you have known from all the other Samsung, Apple, or whatever else apps, but there's more. Like, for example, you can live change the aperture. You can say you want just here the Leica logo to be sharp, and then you can really change the aperture between f.95 till up to f16, which is quite awesome to just regulate this up on top here. What you can also do is just disable this feature again, and now the most important one is just pull up this white little thingy from the bottom to the top, and then you have your manual mode there we have set up for that light picture, that for the night picture you have seen before, an ISO of 320 to 400. And then the most important one is the shutter speed. So how long do you have to keep your hand still? 1/60th of a second, or one just a whole second, 1/30th of a second, and so on. As you can see, the brightness changes quite quickly here, depending on how much light you want to get into the sensors, which is quite interesting to see that you could also do that with a cheap little smartphone, you could say. White balance, also kind of interesting, and then we have here the automated focus for continuous focus, then manual focus, and then the regular autofocus on the left. But I think not so many people use the promo. To get rid of it, just swipe it down to the bottom, and then we are done with that. And you can easily start your video recording here. And if you want to get some more filters and settings, you can see here to slide it in from left and right. You can see here a few kind of modes, for example, night shot, time lapse, and other features that could be nice. And if you slide it in from the other side, you will see we have set the resolution and everything else also here in the menu. So you could say enough about the camera, but you haven't seen the front camera, where we definitely want to see the 8 megapixel front camera, which is obviously amazing in quality. But what we have to do, show again here to you guys, is compared to a Samsung, the front camera is just not as good in terms of wide angle. The quality is definitely as good, but I'm a little bit wider on the Huawei than I am in real life, I think, or I hope, and the Samsung just makes me look also a little bit better. So let's put the S7 to the side and let's continue here with a little bit of benchmarking to show you guys that the phone is also not too slow, not too fast. Almost 85,000 in the ranking. We have that on the 13th of the contestant in the terms of which one is the fastest. Here with this benchmark, another P9 scored 91,000, so it's on 12th place, which is quite nice. But here starting at place 8, you will get your Snapdragon 820 alternatives, which are a little bit more expensive in the phones that are listed here right now, and maybe not even available in Europe or anywhere else. Like the ZEC UK Z2 Pro, never heard of that, but that's a Lenovo company. Anyhow, so yeah, you can see it's running quite quickly, nicely, and we have here also good benchmark. But what you want with a benchmark number if you don't have the game for it? So let's just run here Tomb Raider Relic Run, and you can see then that the 3 gig of RAM is loading up the game quite quickly. I don't have to wait too long. I can't even finish my third sentence before it's not started to load, and then we can run a few meters and watch out for some obstacles. Let me just jump around a little bit and then we are continuing here with my full review. Not that I'm into the game since it's the first level and I played it for a trillion times, but after we slide here through on the bottom you can definitely have seen that there's no lags. Full HD with 3 gigs of RAM is definitely enough, and let's just go out again and do something else. So we had the camera, we had games, we had the benchmark. There's not much else to say except for it's a beautiful phone with just 7mm in slimness, great colors to choose from, 3000 milliamp battery that gets you through the day, and lots of interesting gestures that you can use here from the back that I have to learn also still for the future. But for example, if you want to take a screenshot, this feature still works, that you just use your knuckle and double tap on the screen. So Huawei tried to implement really everything into the P9. So thank you much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. My name is Balazs, and this was the Huawei P9 short press event.